Did you ever have a fake ID to sneak into a tavern or score some beer when you were underage? Yeah, me neither. But I did end up the center of a fake ID fiasco that turned into one of the best pranks that I ever pulled. Here's my story. Back in the day, the drinking age in Wisconsin was 18 years old. But in 1984, the state decided to raise that drinking age, first to 19 and then to 21. But rather than take away the right of the 18 and 19-year-olds that had already been granted the right to drink, the state grandfathered those kids in, so they could still drink, but the younger kids had to wait till the age of 21. This meant that as a freshman in college, I was not able to legally drink, but at 19, I was able to. But the kids just 1 year behind me had to wait 2 long years until they were 21. Thus, there was a constant search for fake IDs by these kids to get them into the bars and taverns so they could really experience the college lifestyle. Now, back in those days, they actually advertised fake IDs in the back of magazines. And one of my friends got a fake ID from Hawaii, as if that didn't stand out as suspicious in central Wisconsin. Now, there was a way to get what we called a bulletproof fake ID. Now, since I was of legal age, I had no need for this, did not participate in this, and if there are any law enforcement agents watching this video, this is a totally made up story and never happened. But here's how you would do it. First, you would find a friend of yours that had similar physical characteristics. Height and weight, hair color, eye color, didn't all need to match exactly, but pretty close would make it better. What you would do, what they would do, is they would take their friend's social security card to the Department of Motor Vehicles. And you would ask the Department of Motor Vehicles for a replacement ID because you lost yours. And in those days, that's all you needed to prove that you were that person, is that social security card. So the DMV would look up your record, see that the physical characteristics were pretty close, take a new picture, and they would issue a replacement driver's license. So the license had that person's picture, but the other person's personal information on it. So the other person's name, address, and most importantly, their age. So you would have the age of the older person, but the picture of the younger person on an actual Wisconsin issued driver's license. Like I said, bulletproof. So I had a friend from my hometown. Let's call him Tony. Tony and I went to the same university, and he was a year behind me. He was shut out of the bars while I was having the time of my life. So he asked me if he could pull this scam using my social security card. Of course, I said, absolutely not. That's illegal. I want nothing to do with this scam. That said, I did notice that later on in the week, my social security card was missing from the top of my dresser where I always kept it in plain sight. I don't know what happened to it, but it did magically reappear, so I thought nothing of it. Imagine my surprise when I later found out that Tony did go get a fake ID with my name on it. I couldn't believe it. But what could I do? He already had it, so as long as he stayed out of trouble, life went on. Now, when Tony did turn 21, I called him on his birthday and said, "Hey, Tony, I want that ID back." "Aw, man, I'm sorry. I lost it. I don't know where it is anymore." Yeah, right. So a couple years went by when one day I got a call from my father, who, remember, he was the elementary school principal in my hometown, so everybody knew who he was. And he told me that somebody found a driver's license with my name and address on it, with somebody else's picture on it, laying on the floor underneath the bleachers of the high school gymnasium in our town. He was not happy. My mother was even less happy than my father was. She said, "Imagine what I would go through if I got a call from the police and they told me that my son was dead because they found this fake ID on somebody else." I said, "Well, imagine how happy you would be when you found out that I was still alive." Not the correct answer. So I was really PO'd at Tony, but rather than just calling him up and yelling at him, I hatched a plot. I called him up and I said, "Hey, Tony, whatever happened to that driver's license that had your picture and my name on it?" "Hey, man, I told you I lost it. I don't know where it is anymore." Again, I knew he was fibbing. So I said to Tony, "Well, you have a big problem." "What do you mean, man?" "I just got a call from the chief of police in our college town. The local gas station got robbed, and the clerk was shot and died. And before leaving the gas station with the money, the robber dropped some things, one of which was a driver's license with my name and address on it. So tomorrow I'm going to the police station in our college town where they want to talk to me about why I was at the scene of this crime. Well, I'm going to take one look at that driver's license and say, hey, that's my name and address, but clearly that's not my picture. That's Tony from my hometown. Here's his phone number. Give him a call. That's right, Tony. I'm going to sell you out. So you should probably get a lawyer because the day after tomorrow, they're going to be looking for you. I don't know how you're going to prove that it wasn't you when it's your face on the driver's license that was dropped at the scene of this murder. You are screwed. Well, Tony went nutso. My only regret was that I wasn't there with him in person so that I could see his face.
Hey man, you gotta tell him it was Todd. I gave that ID to my friend Todd.
So in reality, he had given the ID to one of his younger friends who was also from our hometown, which is why it ended up in our high school. So I said to Tony, I'm not telling them jack crap. All I'm telling them is, I don't know anything about this. I don't know how he possibly got this ID made. All I know is that sure looks like Tony from my high school, and you should talk to him. So it was awesome. He was just in a full panic, and I kept him going for about 30 minutes on it, just asking him questions about why did you do this, and how did this happen, and what were you thinking, and what are you going to do? They're going to put you in jail. And finally, I felt he had enough, and maybe had a little remorse in him, and I told him the truth that the ID had been found, it had been destroyed, and he had nothing more to worry about. But that was probably the best prank that I ever played on somebody. And to pull off that prank was almost worth all the trouble that he put me through. Do you have a funny story about a prank that you pulled on somebody? If so, I'd love to hear about it. Drop it in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, hit the thumb, hit the bell, and as always, sincerely, thank you for watching.